Syracuse survives 72-65 against UNC-Asheville. Here on this special edition of Orange Press Pass, we'll break down that game and Syracuse's next game against Kansas State. It all starts right now. We're here at the Consol Energy Center where number 1 seeded Syracuse barely avoided a historic collapse against the 16th seeded Asheville Bulldogs. The Bulldogs were able to take a halftime lead with great three-point shooting, but Syracuse was able to overcome that in the second half with great play from junior James Sutherland and their 2 senior leaders. The hero of the game, James Sutherland, who scored 15 points, 12 of those coming in the second half. Senior Scoop Jardine had 11 points, all of those coming in the second half as well. UNC-Asheville stayed in this game with superb shooting from J.P. Prim, Jerron Lane, and Jeremy Atkinson, who combined to score 46 of the Bulldogs' 65 total points. Chris Joseph added in 12 points, 10 of those coming in the second half, but after the game, everyone was talking about the play of James Sutherland.
We had to make some plays. James made a couple big shots. We took control of the game. As we did that, it opened up James for a couple good looks at the three, and we got it back out to him, and he knocked them down.
James played great in the Big East tournament and carry over to today, and he's our glue guy, the guy that can really stretch the defense and make some shots where teams really have to pay attention to where he's at on the floor at all times.
He caught fire at the right time. That's what we needed out of him. He had his up and down this year, but he's hitting his shots at the right time.
Oh, yeah, definitely, because it's every game's a new game, and no matter what, I don't even think about the past. Every other shot's going in for me.
And we're here with WAER's Bill Spaulding, who called the Syracuse UNC-Asheville game. Bill, how did the Bulldogs keep this game so close for so long?
Well, first off, their experience. They did a good job with their seniors in the backcourt, their 4 senior starters, keeping the game played at their pace. J.P. Prim made a ton of big shots as well, and that got the crowd going here in Pittsburgh. The crowd embraced the underdog, got behind the hometown coach, Eddie Biedenbaugh, and really energized this Bulldog team throughout the entire game, especially when Syracuse tried to make some runs in the second half, and that was almost enough for the first ever 16-1 upset.
After the game, a lot of Syracuse players and coaches were talking about the play of James Sutherland. What did you see from James today?
Well, I saw the James Sutherland of the non-conference slate. He was confident. He made 2 big three-pointers, a couple big mid-range jumpers as well. And most importantly, I saw a James Sutherland who could rebound. 8 rebounds. He usually struggles with rebounding. That's what oftentimes keeps him on the bench. Today, he was great on the boards, and that's what Syracuse needs from him moving forward.
And Syracuse played this game without starting center Fab Melo. How do you think his replacements fared in this game?
Well, Coach Boeheim said after the game that Keita and Rakeem Christmas were not the reason for the close game. He said the center position had no impact on how close this game was. And if you look at it, they combined for 10 points and 8 rebounds. That's a couple more points and a rebound more than Fab Melo averages per game. So they got probably what they hoped for out of Rakeem Christmas and Keita. Nothing too spectacular, but they'll be satisfied with numbers like that throughout the rest of the tournament.
And that was WAER's Bill Spaulding, who called the Syracuse-UNC game. He'll also call Syracuse-Kansas State on Saturday. And for more on that game, let's go to our reporter, David DeGuzman. David?
Thanks, Chip. Now joined by men's basketball analyst Josh Wetmore. Kansas State defeating Southern Miss 70-64 in their second round match, rather. And Jordan Enriquez saying after the game that Syracuse is a great team with or without Fab Melo. But today against UNC-Asheville, they had a slow start. How will the Orange avoid a slow start? What do they have to do?
Well, you can't worry about shooting. That's one thing, because sometimes you just have a bad shooting night and there's nothing you can do about it. What Syracuse can do is play great defense and get in transition. Even when they're not hitting jump shots, they can always get transition points. The other thing they need to do is seniors Scoop Jardine and Chris Joseph need to have a good first half. They combined for 4 points against UNC-Asheville. If they do that against the Wildcats, they will not be able to mount a comeback in the second half, and they will be going out in the round of 32.
Kansas State doing what the Orange had been struggling to do all season long, and that's rebounding. And Kansas State has Enriquez, who set a postseason record for KSU with 6 blocks today. What does the Orange have to do to answer that kind of guy?
Well, that's the big question for Syracuse. Can they stop him? I think it's the biggest matchup problem for Syracuse. As good as Rodney Magruder is, Enriquez is going to be very tough for Baimusa Keita and Rakeem Christmas to stop. He was so good against Southern Mississippi in every aspect of the game, scoring. He had 9 rebounds and the 6 blocks. Syracuse's big men are going to have to play the games of their lives in order to slow this guy down and keep him from having, quite frankly, a Fab Melo-like performance.
Rodney Magruder carrying Kansas State to its win on Thursday over Southern Miss. 30 points, surpassing the 1,000-point mark in his career. What does the Orange have to do to stop a guy like that who just is scoring a lot?
Well, he is such a great player, and when you have a player that good playing that well, there's nothing you can do to stop him, and there's nothing Syracuse will be able to do if he's playing the way he did against Southern Mississippi. What they can do is batten down the hatches and stop everybody else. Just weather the storm and hope you can score more points than the rest of the Wildcats team, because quite frankly, when you get a guy that good playing that well, there's just nothing you can do defensively to stop him.
Josh Wetmore, a men's basketball analyst, thanks for joining us. Kansas State and Syracuse to face off on third round matchup on Saturday. Keep up with sportsblog.citrustv.net for all the latest coverage from Pittsburgh. For now, that's all the time we have for Orange Press Pass. I'm Dave DeGuzman. Good night.